Introducing the S3 Shoulder Nail Plate from Hand Innovations. The SNP is the next evolution for the fixation of proximal humerus fractures. The SNP was designed to provide true spatial subchondral support through a less invasive approach. Combining the stable support and fixation of a plate with the less invasive profile of an intramedullary nail, the SNP combines fixed-angle locking proximal pegs and unicortical locking screws to secure a stable anatomic restoration of the proximal humerus. Begin by attaching the implant to the insertion jig by tightening the locking screw. Capture preoperative images to assess the severity of the fracture. With the patient in either the supine or beach chair positions, a minimal deltopectoral approach can be performed. Create a 5 to 6 centimeter deltopectoral incision, just large enough to reduce the fracture, and insert the implant. With the proximal humerus exposed, the insertion point of the supraspinatus can be visualized, and the bicipital groove can be palpated. The nail plate is designed so that the proximal tip of the implant begins approximately 3 centimeters distal to the cuff and 3 to 4 millimeters lateral from the bicipital groove. Debride the fracture by removing all fibrous tissue, callus, and clot to allow for a full reduction. Reduce the fracture by traction and manipulation. Then visualize with fluoroscopy. Identify and ranger an entrance hole for the neck of the implant. The jig can be used to insert the intramedullary portion of the implant into the canal of the distal fragment. The implant should insert with a firm rotational motion. Loosen, turn, and lock the jig handle into the distal orientation. 2 converging fixed-angle K-wires should be inserted into the proximal fragment to provide temporary fixation and to confirm proper implant placement. When the implant is properly positioned, the K-wires will bisect the humeral dome in the AP view and converge to the center of the dome in the lateral or axial view. Insert the cannulated K-wire introducer through the slotted most distal hole in the jig handle. Drive the distal K-wire into place to provide temporary stabilization of the distal fragment. Remove the K-wire introducer and bend the K-wires out of the way. Loosen, turn, and lock the jig handle in the proximal orientation. Prior to drilling, make sure that the reduction is maintained. Fast guides come pre-assembled to the plate. Each will guide the drill in the precise, fixed-angle direction. The 4 mm short drill is used only to breach the lateral cortex of the humerus. To complete the peg or threaded screw holes, the 4 mm long drill or the step drill respectively is driven by hand and under fluoroscopic guidance. These drills are used to access the subchondral bone. The tip of the long drill has been designed to guard against penetrating the articular surface. Once the drilling is complete, the smooth pegs or threaded screws can be sized by reading the scale at the top of the fast guide. Once the screw length has been determined, the fast guide can be removed with the fast guide removal tool. Each peg or screw should be drilled for and inserted before moving to the next peg. Once all the pegs or screws have been locked into place, loosen, rotate, and lock the jig handle back into the distal position. Make a stab incision centered under the middle unicortical screw hole in the jig. Insert the obturator and cannulated sleeves into the middle hole and insert to bone. Remove the obturator, then drill through the first sleeve. The drill only needs to breach the near cortex. Remove the drill and the first sleeve and insert the unicortical screw through the remaining sleeve. Tighten the screw until it is snug. Repeat the screw insertion process for the remaining 2 screws through the same stab incision. Ensure the unicortical screws are flush to the bone. The K-wires and the jig can now be removed. Heavy suture material is used to anchor the tuberosities to the proximal aspect of the plate. The first loop secures the lesser tuberosity. The supraspinatus is affixed with the central loop where the knot lies on top of the plate, and a third loop secures the infraspinatus. Once the plate is attached, a full range of motion is performed. Notice that due to the distal positioning of the SNP, the risk of subacromial impingement is greatly reduced. Utilizing fluoroscopy, confirmation images can be acquired to record final implant placement, You can clearly see from these images how the distribution of the pegs in the proximal fragment is designed to match the surface of the humeral dome to provide spatial subchondral support. Hand Innovations, dedicated to excellence in upper extremity fracture fixation, is raising expectations with the S3 shoulder nail plate.